I'm 87 years old, and last week I finally told my wife the truth I'd been hiding for 43 years. It wasn't about another woman or secret debt or any of the big things people usually lie about in marriages. No, this lie was so much smaller, and that's what makes it so devastating. Because the small lies, the ones we tell ourselves don't matter, those are the ones that slowly poison everything we hold dear. When I finally spoke those words, my wife of 43 years just sat there, tears rolling down her cheeks. Not because what I said was shocking, but because we'd wasted 4 decades dancing around a truth that could have changed everything. A truth that had shaped our entire marriage without either of us realizing it. You might be living with your own version of this lie right now. Let me tell you how one moment of honesty showed me what I'd really lost. From the outside, Marie and I had what everyone called the perfect marriage. We lived in a beautiful home in Connecticut that we'd saved for together, raised 3 wonderful children, and never missed celebrating an anniversary. She was the kind of wife other men envied, always ready with a warm smile and a home-cooked meal, supporting every career move I made across 4 decades in banking. Every morning, she'd kiss me goodbye and say, "I'm proud of you." And every evening, I'd come home feeling like the worst kind of fraud. Because beneath our picture-perfect life ran an undercurrent of something I couldn't name. A distance I'd created with what I thought was just a small act of self-preservation. The thing about living with a lie for 43 years is that it becomes part of you. It shapes every conversation, every decision, every moment of intimacy. You build your entire life around protecting it, until one day you realize the wall you built to hide one small truth has become a fortress that's keeping everything else out too. But I didn't understand any of that until that Tuesday afternoon when Marie asked me a simple question she'd asked 100 times before. Marie and I met in 1980 at a friend's dinner party. She was a kindergarten teacher, radiating warmth and authenticity that drew everyone to her. I was a junior banker, ambitious, but carrying a secret shame I thought I'd buried deep enough that no one would ever find it. We married within a year, young and full of dreams. Marie would talk about her passion for teaching, how she could see the moment a child's eyes lit up with understanding. I'd smile and nod, all while hiding the fact that every time she mentioned teaching, my stomach would knot with memories of my own greatest failure. The lie started 3 months into our marriage. Marie found an old photograph of me in a teaching credential program dated 1978. "I didn't know you wanted to be a teacher," she said, eyes bright with interest. Without thinking, I heard myself say, "Oh, that was just a brief phase. Banking was always the plan." The words came out so easily, like they'd been waiting on my tongue. That small deflection grew into a carefully constructed narrative. I became the pragmatic businessman who'd chosen security over passion, the responsible husband who'd picked prosperity over dreams. In reality, I was the coward who'd failed student teaching so badly that my supervisor had suggested I find another career, and I'd never had the courage to try again. Every time Marie talked about her classroom victories, I'd change the subject, each deflection another brick in the wall between us. The lie infected every part of our marriage like a slow-growing vine, wrapping around moments that should have been pure joy. When our daughter Sarah decided to become a teacher, Marie was ecstatic. "She takes after me," she'd say, while I sat silently, the truth burning in my throat. Because Sarah actually took after the man I'd been too afraid to be. There were so many moments when I almost told her. Like the night I found Marie grading papers at 2 a.m., passionate about helping a struggling student. I wanted to share how I'd failed my own student who couldn't read, how that failure had haunted me for decades. Instead, I just brought her coffee and retreated to my study. Or the time Marie was crying after losing a student to cancer, she said, "You don't understand what it's like to love these kids like they're your own." I did understand. I'd had exactly 6 weeks of student teaching, but I still remembered every single face in that classroom. Still, I stayed silent, patting her shoulder with empty comfort. The cost wasn't just in these moments, it was in the 1,000 tiny ways I held back, afraid that any deep conversation about education might expose my secret. When Marie would share her teaching struggles over dinner, I'd hide behind my newspaper. When she wanted to attend teaching conferences together, I'd make up business trips. I became the husband who was supportive but uninvolved when I could have been her true partner in something we both cared about deeply. Year after year, Marie tried to share her world with me, and year after year, I built my walls higher. Until one day, looking at her across our breakfast table, I realized I couldn't remember the last time we'd had a conversation that wasn't about the weather or what to have for dinner. Last Tuesday, Marie was organizing old photos in our living room when she found my teaching credential program ID card, yellowed with age. She held it up, smiling that gentle smile of hers, and said what she'd said so many times before. "It's funny to think you almost became a teacher." Something in me broke. Maybe it was seeing my younger self staring back with such hope. Or maybe it was 43 years of carrying this weight. But suddenly, I couldn't bear another second of the lie. I didn't almost become a teacher, Marie. I failed. I failed so badly they asked me to leave the program, and I've been ashamed of it every day since. My voice cracked. Every time you talked about teaching, every time you shared your classroom stories, I wanted to tell you. But how do you admit to your wife of 4 decades that you've been pretending all this time? Marie set the photo down and took my hands in hers. Tears were streaming down her face, but not tears of anger. "Oh, George," she whispered, "do you know how many times I failed before I got it right? Do you know how many student teachers I've mentored through their own failures?" We sat there for hours, really talking for the first time in years. She asked about my students, about what I'd loved about teaching, about what had gone wrong. And for the first time in 43 years, I let myself remember it all.